So today we are talking about the mental diet. And the reason I want to talk about the mental diet is because it is actually important, but maybe not in the ways that you used to think it was important. So today I'm really going to go deep into talking about how to healthfully keep your mental diet so that you're not going insane and feeling all this pressure and craziness in your mind. This is a big one to clear up because so many people have a lot of confusion and I totally get it. So we're going to get into it. But first, I should probably introduce myself. I don't think I've even done that yet. So my name is Genevieve and I'm a manifestation coach. I mostly talk about law of assumption, but I also throw in other stuff that I know is supportive of law of assumption. And yeah, that's what we do here. I have links below if you want to do coaching with me. I also have my self-concept course, which is a 31-day course on kind of getting back into like a healthy foundation of your self-concept. Most of my courses, so far, the self-concept course is the only one that's available for you to purchase now and start now. In the past, I always did my courses like in kind of a timed way where you could only do it at certain times that I released it. But in the coming weeks, I'm going to be releasing all of the courses. And right now the self-concept one is out. It's a really good one. It's probably my most popular one. And a lot of people who do it really do see shifts in their manifestations, even though obviously the topic is your self-concept. So it kind of goes to show that the way you really are believing in yourself and your foundational I am, like who do you really think you are, that obviously is having a big effect on all of the manifestations that are springing from your foundational I am. So there's that. There's also a guided meditation for those of you manifesting a male SP, and then also a link to my healing ASMR channel. So all of that's available to you down there. And now let's get deeper into your mental diet. So when I first heard of law of assumption and I started watching other content creators on YouTube talk about the mental diet, I heard them refer to the mental diet as if it's an actual diet. Like that's what people would say is like, you've got to cut stuff out of your mental diet, just like you would cut it out of your physical diet. And that really was an unhealthy way for me to relate to the mental diet. I also think that dieting, and this is a whole other topic, but dieting in general, like physical dieting, is also not a healthy way to lose weight. Dieting in general, in which you are thinking, okay, now I have to be very restrictive. Now I have to really make sure that I don't do the wrong thing, that I don't eat the wrong thing, or that in my mind I don't think the wrong thing because there will be consequences if I don't keep my mental diet. That is how I started to relate to the concept of the mental diet, and I think a lot of people are, and then they're really triggered because they realize, like, just like keeping a physical diet is difficult and goes against your natural inclinations, keeping a mental diet is also difficult because you're having thousands and thousands of random thoughts and sometimes random feelings throughout the day. And it is quite anxiety inducing to feel like all day you've got to like hyper vigilantly manage your mind and make sure you never think a thought that's opposing, your wish fulfilled or whatever you're manifesting. Like that's just not healthy. And so today I want to let you know that's not really what a healthy mental diet is. It is not hyper vigilantly from a fear state looking at your mind all day and being like, oh wait, am I still in the wish fulfilled? Am I still believing it? Am I thinking the right thoughts? And if you do think one random thought that's opposing, you totally freak out and then accidentally give even more power to that one opposing thought because you react to it as if it's so important and so real. One thing that if you can get anything from me as a coach, it's that I want you to realize it is the you behind everything you're doing that's actually manifesting. So if the you behind having a random thought and freaking out, the you behind that is, oh my God, this is really serious. And I hope that thought doesn't manifest. How do I make sure it doesn't manifest? That is what's causing it to that you that's reacting as if this thought is so meaningful. I'm giving this thought so much meaning. That is what's causing it to have power and then accidentally, prove you right that it does manifest because you are the one as the operant power that decided in your I am, this is serious. This one thought I randomly had is very serious. It's a very big problem and I need to focus on how to get rid of it because it's a big problem. So A lot of you were doing mental diets that way. I myself was doing my mental diet that way, and it did not work. It lowered my self-concept. It lowered my self-esteem. I felt worse about myself because all day I was fearfully watching my thoughts and reacting very strongly to my negative thoughts, and actually not reacting that positively. I wasn't really excited about my affirmations or the positive thoughts. I was just kind of forcing the positive thoughts from a place of like, I've just got to keep plugging this in. I've got to keep saying that affirmation. I've got to keep plugging this in. And that I am behind that wasn't one that was like, yeah, this is for me. I believe these things I'm saying. I feel good about these things I'm saying. It was coming from a place of like, I've got to make it happen. I've got to just flood my mind with this. And it was all coming from a state of anxiety, and I don't have, and I'm worried about this, and I'm worried about myself, and I'm just worried about everything. If that's your state behind your mental diet and how you're doing a mental diet, then it's no wonder you feel worse, and your reality also probably also looks worse. The other thing is that a mental diet is also not thought flipping. I think a lot of people think that, oh, a mental diet is that I have this thought and I don't like it, and so I identify it and I'm like, oh, I don't like that thought, and then I flip it to the new thought. That's not really necessary, I have found, when it comes to a mental diet, and also not really that helpful, because again, it's just kind of you combating yourself, like you seeing like, oh, I had a negative thought, I don't like that, let's just think the opposite, and maybe the opposite will overpower it and crush it down, and it's repressed and it will never come up again. But it does usually, because you're not really appraising this unwanted thought that represents an unwanted reality that you don't really want anymore. Obviously, you didn't really address this unwanted thought in a healthy way. So now let's get into, so how do I keep a healthy mental diet? Do I even need to keep a healthy mental diet? Because this is also a big debate I've seen in the manifestation world, where there's a lot of people who, even me for a while, I rebelled so hard after the mental diet issues that I had, that I actually went full the opposite way without understanding, though. This was a misunderstanding on my part. And I thought, frick it, I'm not keeping a mental diet. I'm just going to do my techniques, and I'm just going to let my mind do what it wants to do throughout the day. And, maybe eventually my mind will just catch up to my affirmations or whatever. And that is also not correct. So at least in my experience, maybe there's some other people that have really great experience with that. But I have found if you're truly shifting really big identities. So that's kind of where the mental diet applies. When you're really shifting a big identity, this isn't about manifesting small stuff, because the stuff that you have no resistance to, where you really can just think it once, know you have it, and you're good to go, that stuff you don't really need to keep a mental diet, because there's no resistance ever really coming up that much in you about it. So this is really about the big identity shifts in which you are shifting from, for example, because the SP thing is obviously quite popular, you're shifting from a dynamic of my SP rejects me, I feel like I'm not going to get what I want, I feel not chosen, and it's very active in me that I feel this way, and I even see evidence of it. You're switching from that reality to the complete opposite and contradictory reality, where it's like, no, I am chosen. My SP does love me. We have a really amazing relationship. So when you're making really big paradigm shifts like that, I have found that you do need to keep a mental diet. But let me explain exactly what I have discovered for myself is the best healthy way to keep a mental diet. So let's start by just giving an example. So you're going along your day, everything's just fine, whatever, but then all of a sudden, boom, there's that thought that just, it popped up from your subconscious, and it's like, whoa, that feels so real. And you instantly feel that like uncomfortable reaction to it of like, oh yeah, that's real. That thought's real. I don't have it. Oh my gosh, how do I deal with this? So your job, because you are observing yourself, this is also a thing. This is, I guess, before I even get into the example, I should have said, keeping a mental diet really means that you are being a healthy observer of yourself throughout your day. Because when you know yourself truly as the operant power, you're knowing yourself as the greater I am, the I am that exists beyond this physical body, beyond your thoughts and feelings. You are, and the reason you are that, and that you can observe yourself, is because that's how you're able to shift, is because your greater I am has perspective on everything. It can see all the choices it has to make. It can make meaning, it can decide what you want next. That's the real you, the you that's kind of watching over your life, watching you in your own life, and is being the observer and seeing how you're responding to things, the role you're playing. And because you can see yourself, you have this ability to see yourself objectively as this I am, you are able to make different decisions and decide differently, because you're not just in your spiraling experience all the time. And I know, I'll just pause and say, I know a lot of you do feel like you're just in your spiraling experience all the time because you're not used to getting space from yourself. You're not used to being the observer of yourself. But I'm sure a lot of you know, if you've ever done any mindfulness practices, they also talk a lot about being the observer of yourself. When you realize, like, I am God in human flesh. I am beyond this human flesh. I am. And that's who I am. And because of that, I can decide what is right for me, what my identity is. I can shift this human form to be whatever identity I'd like it to have next. So anyway, that's important. So you're going throughout your day with that kind of state of mind, that kind of relationship to yourself as the observer, to knowing that you are the infinite I am, and therefore you are the observer of your state throughout your day in a very healthy, non-judgmental, very non-threatened way. You're never threatened by anything that pops up in your space, because you know that anything that pops up, you always have choice about. You always have choice over whether you believe the things that pop up from your subconscious or not. So when you're really that high in your self-concept and your knowing of yourself as the I am, the only creator in your reality, it's easy to be non-threatened because, again, you remember you always have choice about what you believe and what you choose to no longer believe. You're never tied to any assumption. You always get to choose what's right for you, what's next. So again, we'll go back to our example. So you're going along your day and you're the healthy observer of yourself. That doesn't mean you're hypervigilantly observing yourself. You're just kind of being aware of your state and the mood you're in, but you're also, present in your life. And then, this thing comes up and it's like, whoa, that feels real, and it feels very unpleasant. It feels like obviously it does not support my wish fulfilled reality. So it pops up, and instead of fighting it, instead of being like freaked out by it, you are simply going to acknowledge it for what it is. And that is simply a thought from an old identity. It's a thought from an old reality. It's something you're very familiar with. And this is also why in my coaching, I like to encourage people to be very familiar with their old stories, their old assumptions, their old narratives. Because when you're so familiar with them, they don't really surprise you as much when they sneak up, because you know like what those stories and narratives tend to tell you. Like, you know what they say. You're not surprised when it says that to you, because you're like, of course you would say that. That's what this identity does. Like, that's what it says. When you feel not chosen, it tells you stuff about how you're not chosen. Like, that's just what that reality does, that narrative, that personal I am. So when it pops up, you're not surprised. You're not freaked out. You're not like, oh my God, that's going to create. Because again, you know yourself as the operant power. You know you have choice. And you know that thoughts and feelings are not reality. They help in your creation of reality, and they're tools to help create reality. And they're reflecting the parts of you that still believe in particular realities. But you have a choice to say, when those things pop up from old realities, I know what that is. It's just an old consciousness. It's just an old identity. It's not who I am anymore. I'm not threatened by it. I'm not freaked out by it. That is key. This is really the key to keeping a good mental diet, is that you are practicing observing without taking on, without reacting to it. You're just seeing it for like, that's what it is. And then once you call it out for what it is, and you say, okay, I caught myself. That's awesome that I caught myself, and I see what I'm doing. I'm doing this particular narrative that I used to really believe in, and I get it. I'm very familiar with it. I used to really believe in that identity, but I don't anymore. I'm not that person anymore. That's not who I identify as, and that's not who I want to be. Who I am is someone who is chosen, and I don't need proof of it. I don't need my thoughts to be perfect about it. I don't need my feelings to be perfect about it, because knowing that I am chosen is just a fact. It's just a fact. That's just who I am. And so I don't need to fix my feelings about it. I just know that's who I am. So this is what I mean about keeping a healthy mental diet, is when you notice that something from the old identity is really starting to stir and it's kind of coming up to sabotage your state. You are simply going to acknowledge it for what it is and consciously call it out and then diminish its meaning. And you're not getting afraid of it, because when you get afraid of it, you're actually raising its meaning. You're saying this thought is very important, it's very real, and therefore that's why it creates. So your job as the operant power is to say, this thought is not important, it's not real, it's just an old thing. It's really not that important. I'm not surprised it popped up, because again, I get it, I'm familiar with it, but every time I see it, every time I see thoughts from this reality, I am lowering the importance of them having meaning. I'm consciously calling it out and lowering the importance. And it really is as simple as saying that, like, I don't believe in this. And when it comes to your feelings, because when you have that thought pop up that was not pleasant, I'm sure you're going to have feelings that naturally arise with it, because the thought and feeling pattern is already there. So feelings are naturally attached to that thought as it came up. So say all of a sudden you felt some anxiety. You don't need to force that anxiety to go away, because as long as that anxiety is no longer tethered to the meaning that you always just habitually accepted, because it's not tethered to that anymore, because you consciously said, this means nothing. This has no importance. This is just a thought. This does not define me. This is just a thought. That feeling can just exist, and it will and you can trust that you can naturally hold space for it, and it will naturally shift as you remember, my identity is this. I don't need to feel good about it, because it's just a fact about me, just like having my car in the driveway is a fact, just like, knowing that I have my SP is a fact. They're just facts about me. I don't need to feel good about it all the time, because that would be kind of weird if I was forcing myself to feel good all the time about the facts about me. But I can just hold myself in knowing that my emotions are safe with me. I don't give my emotions a negative meaning. I don't allow my emotions to tether themselves to the negative thought that was up here. I do not do that. That's not who I am. This is what I mean about going to your I am. You are not being the kind of person who allows your negative, bad feelings and thoughts to take you away. So that is really the crux of the mental diet. But there's one more thing I want to say about this. Because another thing I see in a lot of my clients is them using the everyone is you pushed out idea to keep their mental diet pretty crappy. And by that I'll mean, I'll just give a specific example. So say you went to the grocery store and someone was rude to you at the grocery store, and because you are a great manifester and because all the people on YouTube say, well, everyone's pushed out, so if someone's rude to you, it's your fault. And they say it in like such a weird shaming way that's implying a negative assumption about everyone as you pushed out, and you took it on because you didn't know what else to do. So say, someone was rude to you, and so you instantly go to that meaning. In your mental diet, you make the meaning of, oh, this means something really bad about me because everyone is me pushed out. So that means that this is really meaningful about me, and it means that I'm bad, or that I have a bad self-concept, or something's wrong with me, or whatever. You just do something like that. So remember, you are the only meaning maker in your reality. So even if you previously did adopt a bad self-concept where, you took credit for other people's bad behavior and therefore you created more of that, now, whenever someone's rude to you, or who knows what, any circumstance happens in your life, it is your job as a part of your mental diet to never make it mean anything bad about you. You're not going to make it mean, oh no, this means something, it's a big deal. This means my self-concept's not right. You are going to say, this has nothing to do with me. Like, I don't know that guy. I don't claim that guy. I don't claim any of this narrative that he's doing with his rudeness to mean anything about me. This is all like not mine. My identity is not aligned with this anymore. Like, this is not, I do not claim this. Like, that is your job, is to notice, like, where are you making negative meanings in your life, and where are you claiming that your I am is bad because of a circumstance or because of a thought that popped up. This is what really is going to help you to manifest when you stop over identifying with every little thought and feeling you have and every little circumstance shift that you see. When you just let all that stuff go and you say, I'm not messing with the middle, because it's also kind of a thing, like being stuck in the details of thoughts and feelings, being stuck in the details of everyday circumstances. That's kind of you like being too invested in the middle. Like you are not really trusting your end, and your end is again an identity. It's an I am this, I am so-and-so's girlfriend, or I am a hugely successful business person, or it's the I am. You're not living in that I am because you're too busy in here making so much weird meaning that you should not be making because it doesn't feel good to you. It's not, this is also the other thing. I want you to make positive meanings out of everything, not because you need to be good to get your manifestations, but because it's what's good for you. It feels good for you to always take care of yourself first, to always put yourself first in a way that is self-honoring and self-trusting and truly like a genuine self-love. And you're not just doing things to get things, as I say a lot in my videos. You're doing something because it's like, I deserve the experience of this I am. I deserve to know that I don't contribute to other people's bad behavior. I deserve to stand in an I am that is loyal to not giving meaning that would mean that I'm bad, because that's not going to help you. It's not going to help your manifestations. It's not helping anyone. It's keeping everyone in suffering. The more you keep accidentally identifying with, oh yeah, I'm really bad because of this random thought I had, or this thing happened and I'm over identifying with it. I want you to stop over identifying with thoughts and feelings and circumstances that are very fleeting and temporary and just a part of the process. These old thoughts are dying off. They're dying off because you are giving them less meaning. You are consciously calling them out as an old reality and you're giving them less meaning. So this is what I mean about keeping a mental diet, and this is why it's important. Because if you didn't do that at all, so say you just were like, yeah, every day I just do my techniques and the rest of the day I just spiral in insanity. I mean, saying it that way, it obviously doesn't sound effective, but your techniques, whatever you're doing in your techniques to help saturate your subconscious, they are going to be kind of canceled out if you're in your day-to-day life still making a lot of habitual meanings out of everything that you always used to make. Because again, we're not just saying things in our conscious mind because we just want to say them in our conscious mind. We're saying them with a very purposeful intention of having them impress into your subconscious so that you really do believe them at a deeper level. You're not just going into your affirmations or stats because it's a nice fantasy, which I kind of see a lot. I see a lot of people sometimes using techniques as actually a way to escape reality instead of as a way to create reality. And maybe that can be a different video because that's a whole thing. But so yeah, so really it is, who are you being behind everything, and how can you healthfully maintain your own belief in yourself by not reacting in the same way you used to whenever something negative pops up in your mind or your body or in your world. How can you diminish the meaning of that? I obviously explained that in this video. So anyway, I think that is enough for today. I hope this video was really helpful for you today and gave you some clarity on how to healthfully keep your mental diet. And I will see you in my next video. All right, bye.